Is the table you're playing with new to RPGs or to this particular game system? How about if everyone at the table is wearing big smiles during this large boss battle? Well, today we're going to discuss pulling punches as game masters today on Game On. Hello everyone, my name is Justin and welcome to Game On, a show about everything tabletop gaming. I'm not feeling great this week, so please enjoy the Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay in the background and not my beautiful face that you're used to seeing. I was perusing the RPG subreddits on my phone and I saw a user by the name of Arsolt, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, asking the DM Academy subreddit about pulling punches and when it comes to helping players prolong their enjoyment of the game without immediately downing the PCs and whether or not it's something that's morally okay to do as a game master, dungeon master. And I was given permission by this user to post the question in the video, and it's kind of what jogged my desire to actually make this video. Now I know Seth Sarkowski and some other creators have discussed this before, but I kind of wanted to toss my hat into the ring myself. Alright, so I want to start off with a statement that's probably going to get this video downvoted into oblivion, but I need to say it. Fudging is cheating, and if you look at most RPG rulebooks and interpret them rules as written, with few exceptions, paranoia, I think, is basically the first that comes to mind. The game master, as well as the players, are generally supposed to follow the rules. In a game like D&D, you roll the d20, add your modifiers, and that's the answer. The rulebook doesn't say, that's the answer if you like. It's kind of like saying 2 + 2 = 6 because you like that answer better than 4 to your calculus professor. It's not the rules, it's just you kind of fiating it. And since fudging in favor of the PCs usually makes them survive much longer, in this instance, I'm going to be considering fudging dice as pulling punches, and I want to call that cheating in the PC's favor. However, cheating isn't necessarily a bad thing. Rules as written, rules as intended, and rules as you interpret them and how you implement them are all very different things. As a DM/GM, our goal is to be the neutral referee of the game rules and present them in a fair and just manner so the players can navigate their characters in this game world. Yet, it is a game. Games are supposed to be fun, right? Like, I don't play RPGs with my friends to have a bad time. I do it to have fun and enjoy my time. As much as I believe the responsibility of the fun belongs to the table and the players themselves, the game master has the added task of making the players' interaction with the world an enjoyable process. As an example, I was asked to run Lost Mines of Phandelver early in the life cycle of 5e at Matt and I's local game store to drum up some interest in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and I had a bunch of new players, young and old. The very first part of Lost Mines of Phandelver has the adventurers find themselves in a goblin ambush, and this ambush was just destroying this party of newbie players. It was a combination of terrible die rolls on their part and the fact that I was just steamrolling them with natural 20 after natural 20 after natural 20, and 2 of the 4 players went down quite quickly. The cleric had 1 or 2 hit points left, same with the barbarian, and I chose to give some negative modifiers to the few goblins and made the majority of the goblins run away, and I used in-game dialogue to justify the goblins running away by basically yelling in Goblin that they were terrified that somehow these 2 PCs refused to die, and because they did that, they retreated. Maybe there were some sort of gods that they didn't know about, so they ran away. Is that what the book says to do? Well, not really. Technically, with the leveled and countered balancing and suggestions 5e adventures are written with, this shouldn't have been as white knuckle as it was. Did I cheat? Yeah, in a way. I mean, I cheated in favor of the players. Was I wrong in doing so? Well, in the letter of the law and rules as written, yeah. But with the intent of the law and the way that I wanted to interpret the rules, I'd say no. We were able to heal the party up and keep the adventurers going. 3 of the 4 players continued coming back to this game store for Wednesday night D&D after that because they had so much fun in my game. Now, I can't say with 100% certainty, but there's a chance that those players might not have returned if I just blasted their party away in the first 15 minutes of a 4-hour intro game to Dungeons & Dragons. Now, I think most people would agree that that's a reasonable justification. I made 3 new fans of the hobby because I didn't splat them with goblins at first level. Yeah, I didn't follow the rules to a T, and if I had to follow the rules directly as written, yeah, no, obviously it wasn't exactly how it should be done, but in the grand social experiment and hobby of D&D, I think what I did was the right thing to do. Now, would I do this with Matt or any of my other friends who have been playing games or, yeah, 5th edition, any kind of game for a long time, and they really know what they're doing, what they're getting themselves into? The answer is yeah. No, here I am airing my dirty laundry for all of the internet to hear. I've fudged rolls with players I've been gaming with for years. It doesn't matter what system I was running, I fudged rolls and I pulled punches on my players at my table. No, I don't regret it. I want to make it clear that as a player I never pull punches, though it's kind of hard as a player to pull punches, but only as a game master have I ever fudged dice and pulled punches. I never fudged dice as a player, and I do have the desire to only pull punches and fudge dice for certain reasons, and one of them is to keep the game flowing. You see, oddly enough, in level-based games like Pathfinder and D&D, I find myself pulling punches at times you'd think I'd need to do it much less often. With players at level 11 in 5e, pulling punches is like a silly thing to do because the PCs are already stupidly overpowered. Why not use the full power of your antagonists against them? Well, to be frank, it's easier to reintegrate a new PC at 3rd level than it is at 11th. Same with non-level based games like Traveler in the late stage of a campaign. Killing a PC who's been there from the start, whose backstory has been woven into the world, dying 2 sessions before the end really sucks, and I know that because I was a player that has happened to. This is one of the biggest reasons I'm okay as a game master fudging dice or pulling punches or, well, that I like to say, creatively manipulating my interpretations of the rules at a certain time. If that player and their PC has really contributed to the game and everyone is well integrated with each other, I don't want to disrupt that. I don't want to destroy that camaraderie. If that player has just had a crappy week, if they were sick, they lost a job, did poorly on a test, and if somehow I knew that or they told me, I would take it easy on them. I am not going to yeet their character into hell, because that's just a shitty thing to do. I am not going to just kill them. Now, I don't want you to think that I break the rules all willy-nilly without telling anyone. I try to bring it up at my session zeros that I use something that I call reactive encounters. I have the stat block for the enemies that the PCs will be fighting, but I reserve the right to throttle up or pump the brakes on what the enemies can and will do in reaction to the players. Now, for small fry minions, I don't really do this. This is more of like a set piece encounter, and no matter what game system I run, I tend to do this. I always leave the ability to adjust the enemy so that the PCs are more stacked evenly or maybe less evenly against it, depending on how I want the story to go. I may add more health, I may subtract health, I may have a certain ranged weapon, I might take away a special ability or add a special ability. This is a form of pulling punches, but it's also a form of putting on brass knuckles, depending on which way you want to go with the throttling or braking. It goes both ways for me. That's why I'm okay with pulling punches, because I'm also okay with punching through and into the next person, if that makes any sense. Now, if the players turned all the minions into mush, and they're going up against a big bad guy at nearly full strength, that bad guy is going to be harder. I'm going to throttle up how hard he hits, how much XP he has, and how much extra damage he can tank and dish at the same time. Now, if the HP of the enemies are going to be lowered, it's probably because the minions that I might have sent at the players really destroyed them. It was through some bad luck and really good rolling on my part, bad on their part. If they come at this big bad guy with much less strength than I thought they would, then yes, I'm definitely going to pull my punches. But if it was the opposite way, I would definitely hit harder. My reactive encounters style of running is very good at justifying pulling punches. And if you'd like a video on how I build reactive encounters, drop a like on this video and leave a comment. And if you like our show, consider subscribing. Now, there are 3 situations I won't pull my punches on, or as I like to say, creatively reinterpret my rules to benefit how the PCs interact with the game world. The first is simple. I don't fudge or pull punches in tournament play like Adventurers League. Having fixed rules that can be used anywhere in the world is very important in a game like that, in a situation like that, and I'm not going to fudge dice because I don't know if the next DM down the line is going to do that, and I don't want to make something seem one way for a player when it won't always seem like that with other DMs. The second reason I won't fudge rolls or pull punches is for a review. So remember when Matt and I reviewed The Haunting 2 from PB Publishing? When I ran that game, I specifically told the players that there were no punches being pulled. You can't fairly review something if you don't use it as intended or if you alter it. Think about buying a couch and then taking off one of its legs. It wouldn't be fair to write a review saying that the chair or the couch was wobbly. Well, you took off one of the legs. You intentionally changed it. So that's why I don't want to intentionally change something if I'm going to review it. That means not fudging or pulling punches, because I want to be able to give a straight from the hip review. And lastly, the third reason I won't pull a punch is in a deadlier system like Call of Cthulhu or Twilight 2000. Going into that game, the players know in a session 0 that they are going to be part of a brutal and dangerous game. People play games like Twilight 2000 because they like to brush up against death with their PCs, and pulling your punches as a game master will take some of the thrill out of the system, because almost dying is kind of what makes people excited, and the potential to lose your PC. The players themselves may actually feel cheated if you pull your punches in systems like that. So this is where I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Is fudging dice, reinterpreting rules for the PC's benefits, or in general, pulling punches something that you do as a game master / dungeon master? Is it something that should be done in general, not just you but anyone? Players, do you want the dungeon master pulling punches on you so you can keep your character and the plot moving? I'd love to hear your thoughts, as I'm in the camp of keeping the game flow moving, so I'm okay with pulling punches. But again, I know this is a pretty divisive topic, and I'd love to hear you guys in the comments. I appreciate you watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. We always have new content on the way. My name is Justin. Thank you all very much from the bottom of my heart, and as always, game on.